Everyone knows the name Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, the guy who redefined basketball and took the NBA to a whole new level of global fame. But what many people don't know is that Jordan was almost not picked in the draft. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but it's the absolute truth. The story behind the 1984 draft is so absurd, so unbelievable, it feels like fiction. But it's not. It's real. And today, we're going to tell you in detail how the greatest player in history was almost overlooked at the most important moment of his career. Let's go back in time. The year is 1984. The NBA was very different from what we know today. The game was more physical, less focused on high-flying plays and long-range shooting. Basketball was dominated by strong big men who controlled the paint, and that's exactly what teams were looking for: size, strength, and dominance under the basket. In this context, Michael Jordan emerges, an athletic young man with insane explosiveness and a killer instinct to score. He had already made a name for himself at the University of North Carolina, even hitting the game-winning shot in the 1982 NCAA championship. But still, many didn't see him as a top priority in the draft, and that's when the story starts to take an unbelievable turn. With the first overall pick in the draft, the Houston Rockets were on the clock, and guess who they picked? Hakeem Olajuwon, a dominant center with insane potential, who would go on to become one of the greatest of all time. That pick, to be fair, was more than justified. Olajuwon had a legendary career, NBA champion, league MVP, and a defensive force, but he still wasn't Jordan. The second pick was the real turning point in this story. It belonged to the Portland Trail Blazers, and this is where the draft goes down in history as one of the biggest mistakes of all time. Blazers decided to select Sam Bowie, a center, from the University of Kentucky. That's right. With Michael Jordan still on the board, they chose a player who, although talented, already had a serious history of injuries. And not just any injuries. Bowie had missed entire seasons due to stress fractures in his legs. The Blazers' justification? Simple. They already had a shooting guard on the roster, Clyde Drexler, one of the best in the league at the time. And in the 80s logic, having two players at the same position didn't make sense. They wanted a big man, someone to complement Drexler, and just like that, the Portland Trail Blazers, with everything in their hands, let the greatest player in history slip right through their fingers. It was only with the third overall pick that the Chicago Bulls came into the picture. Without hesitation, they picked Jordan, and the rest is history. But let's pause here, because the real question is, what if Portland had chosen Jordan? How would NBA history have changed? Drexler and Jordan on the same team, maybe championships, dynasties, a different dominant franchise. Maybe the Bulls would have never become what they are today. Maybe Phil Jackson never would have coached Jordan. Maybe Scottie Pippen never would have entered that story. And maybe, just maybe, LeBron would be considered the greatest of all time, simply because there wouldn't have been such a dominant legend like MJ. But reality played out differently. Jordan landed in Chicago's lap, and what he did with that opportunity is straight out of a movie, literally. In his rookie season, he was named Rookie of the Year, averaging an impressive 28.2 points per game. The city of Chicago, once without major aspirations, became obsessed. Jordan wasn't just a basketball player, he was a cultural phenomenon. In the years that followed, he led the Bulls to 6 NBA championships, won 5 MVP awards, was finals. MVP 6 times, led the league in scoring 10 times, and even had 2 retirements, one to play baseball and another that lasted 3 years, and still came back to dominate the league. Now think about it, all of that almost didn't happen. And more, Jordan wasn't even considered the best player in the 1984 draft class. He wasn't the first pick, not even the second, he was the third, and still, he became the greatest. This brings up an important point. The draft isn't an exact science. Many factors influence decisions: roster fit, era-specific playing styles, franchise needs. But what the 1984 draft teaches us is that talent transcends any number. That sometimes even the experts get it completely wrong. And when it comes to greatness, the world often only realizes it after it explodes. And it wasn't just Jordan who dealt with that kind of doubt. NBA history is full of players who were underestimated in the draft, either because of injuries, height, lack of hype, or just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But no one ever redefine the phrase, "How did you let this guy slip through?" like Michael Jordan did. Today, if you ask anyone who knows even a little about basketball who the greatest of all time is, odds are they'll say Jordan. And to think, he almost wasn't picked. This story is a lesson for players, teams, fans, and even for life outside the court. The world won't always see you as a priority. You won't always be picked first. But that doesn't define who you are. What defines you is what you do after. Jordan turned being picked third into motivation. And with it, he built the greatest legacy basketball has ever seen. Did you enjoy this story that almost changed the destiny of the NBA? Then hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any content like this. There's a lot more behind the scenes and untold stories coming your way. And if you love basketball as much as we do, this is the place for you.